The Masterworks Chorale is doing a concert on Sunday, November 18th at 3 p.m. in Big Baker Memorial Chapel at McDaniel College. And the McDaniel College Choir is doing a concert on Sunday evening, December 2nd at 7 p.m., also in Big Baker Memorial Chapel at McDaniel. I am Margaret Boudreaux, the Director of Choral Activities and Professor of Music at McDaniel College, and I'm also the Artistic Director of Masterworks Chorale of Carroll County that will be doing our concert coming up next month.
My name's Justine Koontz. I'm a composer and conductor, and I'm actually a Carroll County native. I'm originally from Eldersburg.
Both concerts are commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Armistice that ended World War I. In the Masterworks concert, we're featuring a few works that have set the text to the Te Deum, which is an ancient text that throughout history was frequently used to celebrate the ends of wars. And in this concert, we're featuring a new work by Justine Koontz, who is a graduate of McDaniel College and has also sung in both the McDaniel College Choir and in Masterworks Chorale.
The Te Deum is a text that has intrigued me for a long while. It's a very celebratory text. There's a wonderful, joyous effusiveness about it. There's almost this quality of the writer can't quite get the ideas on the paper fast enough. And it closes with that really wonderful line after enumerating all of these points. O Lord, in thee let me never be confounded. And I've always found that to be a very intriguing line. When I was doing my graduate work, one of the things that you're required to do is to compose a master's thesis. And your thesis is a large-scale composition that you then defend in front of a committee. And the Te Deum was very much on my mind, but it was in my mind in a strange way. This was 2015, and I was looking at the world around me and the issues that were starting to come up with the presidential election and all of the issues that we were confronting in Indiana that time, and I was noticing this incredible divisiveness starting to appear, and it was a struggle for me to then look at the Te Deum and want to set it because I couldn't quite see how they aligned. I was asking myself, can we actually express this text in our modern world? So my approach to the piece as I was writing it was to confront the text as a citizen of 2015 and ask myself the hard questions. So the piece is quite varied. There are parts of it that are very joyous and are very celebratory, but then there are parts of it that are very mocking and derisive and questioning. So the entire piece is really exploring the Te Deum as a citizen of the 21st century.
Yeah, and for me, because I've always been fascinated by how each generation approaches music and how each generation, and by that I mean over hundreds of years, approaches different texts and different ways of expressing themselves musically, affected by the things that are happening in the world and the ideas that have come up and the events that take place around them. I've really been fascinated at how music changes and develops and how each generation affects the next generation and how each generation really tries to learn from previous generations. So having this 100th anniversary come up really is thought-provoking because we've all learned, and I'm old enough to have known as a teenager men who were elderly at that time who had fought in that war, and I remember them talking about it, and the impact was so profound because it was the first of the really large modern wars that included the use of massive technology and chemicals, and it was the first time with aerial warfare, and it was unimaginable to the generation that even went into it, what they were in for. And when it ended, they bandied around the term, the war to end all wars. But of course, we know it didn't turn out quite like that. So we continue as humans to struggle with these conflicts and the ways to resolve those conflicts. So I think through the arts is one of the ways that we have that discussion with each other as a society. I find it very exciting to be able to explore a lot of the different ways that different composers have approached these things. I've always said that the end of the First World War was almost like a psychotic break in Western civilization. You see it in the arts. You see it in literature. You see it in the visual arts. You see it in music. It was almost as if all the artists looked at what had happened and said, well, that didn't work. Let's throw everything out and just make everything new. That worked imperfectly as well. But we continue to explore, as Justine explores in her work, to find ways to confront these texts, as she said, in a way that's appropriate for each generation.
Composing a large work like this is something I'd never done before prior to this work. And it's very frightening because, and any piece in the beginning is very frightening because you're confronted with a blank page and maybe a couple of sounds in your head. So things that I did in the beginning to get ready for it were certainly familiarizing myself with the text. But deciding what kind of building blocks I was going to use was very helpful. There's a lot of numerology in the piece. I tended to use the number 3 a lot as a building block, whether that was in terms of harmony, in terms of form, in many other ways. And that was actually a lifeline in some ways, because as I would go through the piece and get stuck, I would be like, how can I use the number 3 to get myself out of this?
I think it's great to be in Carroll County, in a county like this that is not far from major urban centers, but it still very much has a sense of a rural community, an intimate community, a community where people not only know each other relatively well, but they value each other. You have families that go back generations, and you have people that haven't been here very long that find their place in this county. We build a sense of community through the music that we offer. It's very rewarding because it does feel like it feels like it's part of the community conversation with anything that we do. And particularly Masterworks has such a nice cross-section of the community and its membership that, I feel like it's a great community to be in the arts and to offer performances and to be able to have composers here in this county whose music we can celebrate in our performances. There's 2 choral concerts coming up that will commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Armistice that ended World War I. The first is Masterworks Chorale of Carroll County on November 18th, Sunday, at 3 p.m. in Big Baker Memorial Chapel on the campus of McDaniel. And the other one is the McDaniel College Choir on Sunday evening, December 2nd at 7 p.m., also in Big Baker Memorial Chapel on the campus of McDaniel. The Masterworks concert does have tickets. They can be purchased online through our website, www.masterworksofcc.org, or they can be bought at the Arts Center downtown on Main Street, or from members of the choir. And the college choir concert is free.